Man, welcome to another business show.
Thank you. Welcome, guys.
Good. Welcome, guys. Everyone joining the show. Hopefully, a impactful show again today. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to work on your business and not in your business. So something a bit strategic. We work with a lot of guys. We see they get stuck in certain points in their business. And the reality is, guys, if you do not change your thinking and the way you do things, you're going to have the exact same results that you had the previous year. So, but before we jump into today's show, Eugene, maybe for the guys that's new to the show, do you not want to introduce EHQ and tell them a bit about ourselves before we jump into the learning part?
Cool stuff. Thanks, Willie. Welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of the weekly business show. And just before we get into who is EHQ, I watched a video this morning, Denzel Washington. So every morning is part of my morning routine. I watch a motivational, impactful, learning, whatever type of video, 10, 20 minutes. And one of the things that stood out this morning, he said, if you want something different, you have to do something different. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over. What's that Albert Einstein thing, Billy?
Yes, the definition of insanity is if you keep on doing something the same way and you're always expecting to get a different result.
So if you want a different result, your actions have to reflect something different. So we'll get into all of that just now. So just quickly for the guys that first I'm joining EHQ. EHQ is Entrepreneur HQ. Myself and Willie started a couple of years ago, and it's basically our give back project. Our highest value is connections, learning, and teaching. And we're part of a lot of masterminds, more expensive masterminds. And I've invited quite a lot of the guys that I've met into these masterminds, and they purely couldn't afford it. So myself and Willie created a extremely low cost, I think it's $99 or something like that per month, mastermind, where we then share our experiences. We get other industry experts in as well to share their experiences. And we believe that entrepreneurship is a journey of continuous learning. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in business, it doesn't stop. It's not a university degree that you do 4 years and now you're a business guy and now you can go execute. It's continuous because it keeps changing. And a lot of the time, especially now in the recent times, it changes on a daily and weekly basis. So how do you learn this stuff? Who do you connect with? Where do you get your information from? You're the average of the 5 people that you spend your time with. The problem is, where do you find 5 different people? So myself and Willie created EHQ, and it's about connecting digital entrepreneurs worldwide. We want to create a network worldwide of digital entrepreneurs that can collaborate, share JVs, all that sort of stuff. That's enough about EHQ. If you want to join, click on the link below.
Like, subscribe, share, do whatever you like with this video. All those things, all those social media things.
Yeah. Cool, guys. So let's get into the show today. So today's show is about working on your business, not in your business. So we've heard this term a million times. The question, and really think about this, what does it mean? What does it mean to you to work on your business, not in your business?
What does it mean to you, Eugene?
So I struggled with this quite a bit. I went to all these entrepreneur conferences 10 years ago when I started my first business, my first full-time business. And they kept throwing out these terms. And then I'd get to the office there. I'm like, okay, today I'm working on my business, not in my business. And I'm like,
okay.
What now?
What now?
Okay. So working in your business, there's 3 levels in a business. There's a functional level, operational, and then strategic. So it's this pyramid. At the bottom, all the activities is a lot. That's if you're an electrician going to physically pull the wires and connect everything and so forth. Operational level is where you work on your systems, your processes, your team, your structure, all those sort of things. And then when you get to the top, that's your strategic level, which we'll get into a bit more detail shortly. So working on your business means you move up into the strategic level and you think about the strategy. You think about your next 5 moves. Where's the business going? What do I need to execute? But where do people get stuck, really? All on the doing.
Exactly. Like yourself, I've also spent a lot of money and a lot of time on on very expensive seminars and stuff like that. And yeah, the same thing kind of happened to me. Is you get pumped up back to the office that Monday, and you've got all the best intentions to, start working on your business because you can see the benefits and stuff like that. And then you, like you mentioned, you've got to do stuff when I don't have anything else to do. We don't have those types of lists. So what happened to me is I walk in there with the best intention. I sit there for a couple of minutes, and then I open up an email browser, and the next thing that I see is I find myself right
Yeah.
back there into this the functional part of business which you mentioned. And I don't know, Eugene, I don't know how you managed to get out of that, but I constantly, and as we speak, as we do this business show, and I think about this stuff, there's stuff that's sitting there which is pulling me back to that place. I think one of the big misperceptions is that you cannot not do the other things. I think the magic in the work on your business versus work in your business is you need to change the ratio of time that you spend at those various places. So I think people sometimes takes it up too literally, but I mean, if you think about it, you're gonna have to somehow make that transition. But yeah, I kept on finding
Exactly that.
myself in that functional place.
Yeah. It's not that we don't do the functional stuff. For some reason, we think as well that, okay, today I'm working functional, tomorrow I'm going to flip a switch and now I only work on strategy. Someone still needs to execute those duties.
Exactly.
Someone still has to do the work. And a business is a growth part where it's got different levels as you move up. So you don't jump from this level to that level all in one go. You have to go through it step by step. And as you go, the ratios start changing. So it's about, in the beginning, for example, spending 70% of the time on the functional level, then maybe 20% on the operational level, and 10% on the strategic level. And as time goes on and you start building out your team, then you can start spending different ratios in different areas. The second thing that I see on quite a regular basis is we think when we go back to the functional level, oh yeah, now I'm doing something wrong. But it's a continuous process. We don't work in one quadrant at any given time. We work in all three. So you'll plan, for example, I want to open up another, or you'll do the work, then you start working on the operational, you manage your team, then you spend time on the strategy, and you think, okay, I'm going to open up another branch in a different country. And we'll get to that now, how you do that strategic section. But once that plan is in place, once your next 5 moves is in place, you have to go back to the functional level. Then you have to execute. Yep. And Willie, you've got a nice thing about that, about the doing part and the design. Maybe take us through that. That's important. Once you have the strategy, we think now we can go sit on our hands and everything will happen. Yeah. We have to go back and execute it. We still have to do it.
I think a lot of times people think when you now start doing the strategic thing, like you said, you can't spend all your time. And I think the thing that I see all the time is the mix of time which you spend wherever you need to spend it. And I listened to quite a nice ebook the other day. It's called Clockwork by Mike McCallowitz. And the ebook's about how do you remove yourself from your business. And, they start off with the 4 Ds. And it made so much sense. It's, so the 4 Ds in business is where you spend your time with. The 4 Ds goes as follows. So the first thing is you need to do stuff. Second thing is you need to decide on certain things. You need to delegate and you need to design. So the design phase is where you spend your time strategically. So what happens is in these 4 Ds, we tend on spending 100% of our time on the do part and not spending time on the design part. The question is, how do you make this transition from doing to designing? And the trick with that is, or not the trick, the answer to that is you need to start delegating some of this work. But here's the problem with the delegating part of things. And once I read this book, I realized that we're all doing that. How we see delegation of work is we We give someone a task to do. They need to do all of the stuff. The problem with that is we don't give people the authority to
Yeah.
make those decisions for themselves.
You stand
So
over
I'm
their
gonna
shoulders like, are you doing it? Are you doing it? No, you're doing it
exactly.
wrong. No, don't do it like that. Do it like this.
Exactly. So what happens is I send you a task. I then ask you before you do this task, you need to speak to me, and then you submit that task. So which means is we're not really delegating stuff. So the first thing that I learned from this is we need to put more trust into our people in order for them, and we need to give them the freedom, and we need to tell them, I'm giving you this task, you need to take ownership of this task so that I can spend more time on the design part of this business. And here's the thing, if you do make a mistake, I'm sure you've not done it um, with offset. I don't know what's the English word, but
On
so
purpose.
if you've made a mistake, you've not done it on purpose. So if you do make if you decide something and you make a mistake, then that is also okay. So I think that's one of the things that I've learned in this process of divorcing yourself from I wouldn't say divorce, but
Mm.
creating space for
Work.
yourself, creating space for yourself to work on a decision making slash strategic stuff is you need to be comfortable to start properly delegating stuff
Mm.
to your team members in order for yourself to create that space and make that decision. So it was something very insightful
Mm.
that I learned from that book. So
I think what's important about that as well is so here's a vergelijking
a comparison.
comparison for you guys. If you want 2022 to be different to 2021, you have to do something differently. How many of you, and comment if you had, if you don't, but be honest. Don't just say something to have a stroke of your ego to feel better about yourself. Be honest with yourself. Did you have, when 2021 started, a full strategy in place for this year? So this is where I'm going to operate. This is my competitor analysis. This is how I'm going to niche myself. This is how I'm going to change my product or service to differentiate myself amongst my competitors. This is who my clients are going to be. This is where I'm going to start off with these packages. And then once I reach a critical mass, then I'll move on to the next level. And then when I move on to the next level, this is what my packages are going to be. This is the type of industry that I want to go into. That you have a full strategic plan of what you're going to execute for 2021. And most of us didn't. Myself and Willie had probably a 50% plan because we sat and we went through the stuff last year, November. And we actually built out 2021 to a fair degree. And as we built it through and executed through 2021, we learned a whole bunch of new things.
Yeah.
Which means our strategy for 2022 is going to be so much better. So the things that we're discussing today is about how do you make 2022 so much better than 2021? Because most of the companies we speak to, if I ask them, what was your strategy for 2021? So they come in for coaching, and our first session, I said, okay, how well is your current strategy working? And they're like, my what?
Yeah, my what?
So we get stuck doing. There's a
One thing. Yeah.
E-Myth. So Michael Gerber wrote in the E-Myth, said the reason why small businesses don't work is because the people who started them do.
Yes.
So it means you're constantly doing, so you're never moving up to move your business forward. And 3 years later, you're still a one-man show.
Yeah.
Because you're still doing. Not multiple streams of income, multiple teams. So what are you doing to start branching out your teams so that will give you the freedom to work on the strategy? Can't work on the strategy if you're the only person in the business and you constantly have to do the work. It's not going to happen.
No, ties quite well into that question that that you've learned me. I think we talk a lot, people, a lot. All right. So we were talking about stuff, and Eugene said to me, ask someone the question, how do I do this? And I think it was Will that said to you, Eugene, it's the wrong question that you're asking. the question that you should be asking is, who's going to be doing this, or not how am I going to be doing this? And just from a personal perspective, once you said that to me, I find myself quite a lot of the times digging into something, and then I step back and I ask myself, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. Who's going to be doing this? And I think one of the things is people think you always have to appoint full-time people. I think that's the the objection that people's got about answering that question to themselves. And there's so many creative ways, especially with like working virtually and technology, and who's going to be doing
about
it?
our businesses, we employ full-time 15 odd people in our team, but our entire team's probably 35 people.
Yes,
Because all our designs gets outsourced to that person, the accounts gets outsourced to that, this gets outsourced to that gets outsourced to that. And Willie, you're part of my team, so I outsource you to
exactly.
to manage my accounting team.
Exactly. Same way you guys do our IT and things like that. I mean, I don't want to bother that. I would bother with that. I must say, it's quite a mindset change. Eh? Previously, and I've got social media guys and content people helping me and stuff like that. Previously, I would have gone as like, oh, no, I think I can do this myself. Now I'm like, let's just pay the money and let's just move on. And I can definitely see just from a revenue perspective. Now, revenue is one way of measuring how the growth of your business is going. It's just measuring what we've done in the last 12 months by just thinking a bit differently, but still doing the same stuff. We're not doing anything different. We still deliver services and stuff to the clients. I think that's also made a major change in our business.
That also pulls into is that scarcity versus abundance.
Yes.
So in the beginning, we're in the scarcity mindset. So we don't want to part with our money. We want to keep the money, so we end up doing everything ourselves. But how much more has our business grown in sales and in the quality of work once we started outsourcing the stuff and paying the money?
Yeah.
Now we want to keep the money, so we end up doing everything. And we end up doing 100 different things half-ass. Because you can't focus on it full-time. Or if you outsource it, they can do it properly. And then you got a way of measuring them. You've got KPIs in place where you can see whether they're performing or not. But in the scarcity mindset, we sit back and we want to keep everything. As soon as you start doing that type of stuff, it's not just about getting better work in. There's a shift that happens in your mind where now you take on bigger clients and you take on more deals because you know you've got the team to execute on that. When in the beginning you don't take on that big clients because you think, how am I going to do all this stuff? When you start realizing that you've got this team and you have this click of, there's so many clients, there's so much out there, I just need to go and get it. Then
and that's the thing.
This abundance mindset.
You've got this hot product or this hot service that you need to be selling. So what you're keeping yourself busy with? You go and spend time buying freaking groceries at the store for your office cleaning lady. You could have spent that time much more productive.
I think a big part of that also comes into this, I don't know what to call it. We'd rather have 100% of nothing than have 50% of something big.
Exactly.
So now you have the opportunity to partner with someone and you have to forego some of the income from that product. Then you're like, no, I can do all this by myself. The problem is you can do 3 by yourself. Partnering, now you got 50% of 100 instead of 100% of 3. So we rather want to keep on and we don't want to share stuff. We don't want to take a lot of the deals I go into, I'll take a 30% cut out of it. When I can negotiate for probably a majority share out of it, I'd just take my 30% and I'm happy with that. I don't care about having the 100%. As long as there's people in the team that's going to execute on this stuff. And I did a deal this last week. I also went in on a 30% portion. Where if you actually look, the strategic and the sales part of it is probably your most important function.
Yep.
If you don't have sales, you've got nothing to negotiate on. You've got no clients, you've got no money.
Look, that's an entire topic by itself that we can address one day. Is how people start businesses and they've got this wonderful product, but there's no sales. Guys, if you don't have sales, then you don't
have a
have
business.
a business. You don't have a business.
So the point is, go and find. Don't get stuck in trying to negotiate percentages and stuff like that. As I mentioned, a lot of stuff I take a 30% thing. 30% is fine for me, and I do a lot of the stuff and handle some of the back office. We do the sales and. But now being able to do that, I can do 20 or 30 or 40 deals like that. Where if I go in for 70% and I go and physically do the stuff because I want the 70%, I can only do 3, then my time's up. Our greatest resource is time.
Yeah. So just on the greatest resource thing, just by the way, people think that you can't scale time. How do you guys think that successful people scale their time? They can go to an hour meeting and do $1 billion deal versus me going to a meeting to a client and charging them 5,000 Rand for that hour. That's how you scale time. Just something off topic.
Definitely. So Willie, we quite into this 20 minutes in already. It feels like 2. So our purpose here is to try and always to part with our knowledge the way that we do things. You have to change it. We all see the world in a different paradigm. So it's going to go through your filter and you're going to take out of it whatever you want to take out of it. Important thing is to take out one thing and then action it. You have to do something. If you want your life to be different, you have to do something different. Now, the purpose of today's show is for you to reflect back. We, at the end of November now, reflect back 2021. What worked? What didn't work? How much time did you spend working on the functional level in your business? How much time did you delegate on the strategy section working on your business? And how are you going to change that in 2022? So really a question for you. Someone watching the show now they say, okay, cool. I'm going to take this on. I'm going to plan 2022. Where should they start in this process of getting the stuff in?
Sure, that's a good question, Eugene. Maybe what I'll share is how that I would go about with this. Is so I think firstly I think you need to we talk a lot about speaking to people, like-minded people, and things like that. It's very difficult to find that all the time. And the thing is, we've got so much thoughts in our head that by just sometimes going to sit and meet or not meet, think about your stuff, you get back into your old loop. So probably what I would suggest is the first thing that you would need to do is just go and find yourself a business coach. And guys, when I say a business coach, you need to understand the difference between a mentor, a consultant, and a coach. A mentor is someone that's done it before. Who's going to tell you, this is what I've done. You must do this. And Eugene, you know from being an A-class business coach, probably the least results you're going to get from someone is actually by telling them stuff. So by getting a business coach, you actually find someone that's going to help you unpack whatever is in your head. And what I think what people don't realize is we do actually have the answers for ourselves. We know ourselves the best. We know where we want to go and stuff like that. Finding a business coach is going to help you climb. You mentioned it, Eugene. They're going to help you to climb a mountain, but they're going to help you to climb the correct mountain. Because if you're going to try and climb the one mountain, you get to
You're
the
not
top.
going to climb this mountain, get to the top and realize, oh shit, I climbed the wrong mountain.
No, exactly. So that's the first thing that I would do. And then something which I also do very well is you're going to have to, make time for yourself and take a pen and paper and just write down everything in your head and try and sift it out and things like that. And one thing that I'm very
crucial, writing it down now.
Yeah, because I'm at the point in this year where I'm reflecting on what's happened during the past 12 months, and I'm finding it very difficult to recall everything that I wanted to achieve in the beginning of the year. I'm getting there, but once again is not to waste time. Is go and take whatever your strategic moves is, go and write it down so that you can reflect back on that. To see what type of progress you've made. And, I think one method which works quite well is journaling. So journal it. We've got a friend, Bertus. He's doing journaling on a daily basis. He literally goes back every week, see how the week's gone. I am maybe not inclined to do that, but it would have been nice for me
It's a bit next
to
level.
have written all of the strategic decisions that I've made in the beginning of the year and reflect back on that now, and then start off the year, by building on those things. So I think that's a good place to start, Eugene. What are some of the techniques which you apply in your business?
Yeah, so we spoke a bit about it on last week's show. If you guys missed the show, go back and check it out. We spoke about the one thing methodology. So one of the things that I do on a regular basis, I can share what I'm doing, and then I'll give you a few tips of how you can start your journey. So I've got a list of to do, and I've got nothing to do. So we always work on the stuff that's urgent and important. But what about the stuff that is really important, but it's not urgent? It constantly gets moved to the sideline. And a lot of time, that's your strategic moves. That's like taking time for yourself. And taking time for yourself, as you mentioned, Willie, and go and sit and reflect and journal the stuff. Those things aren't urgent. They are crucially important, though.
Yep.
Because it's not urgent, we tend to focus on the urgent stuff the whole time, and we move the stuff to the side. So one of the things that I do from a strategic perspective is I've got a list of things, what to do when I don't have anything to do. Because we find these gaps an hour somewhere in the day, and then it's like, okay, I've got nothing to do now, or meeting cancelled, or whatever the case may be. And then you sit and our most productive resources, or our most important resources, are time. Now you've got an hour there, and then what do you end up doing?
You wasted.
Checking emails, you waste the thing. I go and sit and I open up my book and I go through my list of my urgent or my important things that's not urgent, and I'll work through them. Something else, again, watch the previous business show. We went a bit into depth about that. What is the dream that you want to focus on, or what's the goal that you want to achieve by the end of the year? And then break it down. What can I do today to move the needle? What can I do today to get me that one step closer to that? What can I execute on today? The most important thing is to actually have a goal. Have something. We vastly underestimate what we can do in 5 years and overestimate what we can do in one. It's about having a 5-year or 10-year or 20-year goal. What's your legacy? And then start bringing it back. What am I going to achieve in the next year? So one tip that I think, one or two tips for everyone else that wants to start off on 2021 or 2022 and do it a bit differently. As Willie mentioned, get a coach. You need someone that's going to keep you accountable. Who's going to talk you through this process? Who's going to keep you accountable? Who's going to ask you the right questions? Number one, get a coach. Number two, write it down. You have to have the stuff written down somewhere. It needs to be on a vision board in front of your eyes every single day. And then number three is start marking your steps down. So when you do a strategy, it's about thinking not just how am I going to survive. It's about thinking how am I going to thrive.
Yeah.
So you build out the strategy of I'm going to thrive in 2022. What can I possibly do? Dream a bit. And then bring it back to the present and say, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this.
I like what stands out for me is this dream a bit, eh? If we take guys like Elon Musk, he wants to send people to Mars. I mean, crazy. that gives us breathing room to actually go and, I don't know how to put it in words, but to think big. Just put that dream out there and just strive to that. I mean, give yourself the permission. I think we're living in a society where we don't give ourselves permissions to think like that because we think people are going to think that we're crazy. You know what? You can think that I'm crazy. I don't give a shit. That's kind of the attitude.
Crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Exactly. So,
something else that you mentioned that last point that I want to touch on that you mentioned is we keep thinking about the stuff from a business perspective. and we neglect ourselves. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention, guys, if you do your strategy, you need to remove yourself from your current environment. So what I've done with some of my coaching clients is I move them. We go to a day spa or something like that. And we sit there and we do their strategy. You need to be in a creative, flowing workspace when you do your strategy. So schedule once a week or once a month, whatever works for you, to go away for 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 hours and go and work on your strategy. And the only reason you're there is to work on your strategy. Willie, the thing that I wanted to talk about is we neglect ourselves. So just thinking about it now, one of my parts of my strategy is snowboarding. So I've got certain goals for next year that I want to snowboard. How important is it to do that in our strategy, and how do we do that? Just last question before we sign off.
I think you need to make a conscious decision, or I'm not sure if that's it. You need to understand that everything starts with yourself. So if you're not going to make time for yourself, discover yourself, etc., etc. So one of my strategies is to actually next year take a year, and I'm going to call it the year of self. It's where I'm going to discover all of these self things, what makes me happy and things like that. But the first thing that you would need to do is you need to make a decision that you want. You need to believe that if you work on yourself, everything around you is going to change. I think that's the correct. You need to believe that if you change yourself, everything around you is going to change dramatically. So yeah, I think that's.
I want to end off with a story. So this dad was sitting, he works crazy through the week, and on the weekend it's his son's birthday. And he says to his son, okay, this weekend we can do anything you want. He's like, okay, cool, Dad. I want to play outside, and I want to throw the ball, and I want to play catch, and then I want to go ride bicycle, and I want to do everything with you. And the dad said, okay, no, that's fine. So Saturday morning we wake up and we can do that. So Saturday morning comes, the dad wakes up a bit earlier because he's got a morning routine where he reads his newspaper and he drinks his coffee. And so he wakes up a bit earlier so he can finish that before the boy gets up. To his surprise, the boy wakes up about the same time as him. So he's busy sitting, reading his paper. And here comes his son running in and pulls down the paper. He's like, Daddy, are we going to play ball now? He's like, yes, yeah, we'll go just now. And as he's thinking through this, he's like, yes, I just need 5 more minutes. I just want to finish reading my paper. And he remembered a bit earlier in the paper, there is this picture of Earth, but it's all black and white. And he thought, okay, he's going to take a while to put this together. So he said, okay, before we go outside, let's play a game. And he tears up that paper of the picture of Earth and he puts it on the table and he says, put all these pieces back together, and then when you're done, we can go play outside. Yes, 5 minutes later, the boy pulls down and he's like, Daddy, I'm finished. Are we going to play outside? And the dad looks and he's like, geez, he actually did it. How did he get the whole world in place through this? So he asked him, how did you do this? I couldn't even have done this in 5 minutes. So he's like, Dad, so I had all the pictures and I sat there and I thought, I'm never going to do this. And then one of the pieces fell on the floor. And I bent down to pick it up. And this paper is lying on a glass table, so I could see the bottom of it. And at the bottom, I could see a man. And then I realized if I just put the man together, the whole earth would be okay.
Wow,
it starts with the man. Fix the man, you fix the world.
Fix the man, you fix the problem. Start with yourself. Fix your problems. Start with you and fix your own problems. So it's basically that. Cool,
guys. That's the end of our business show for today. Join us next week for the weekly business show. Next week is the day before Black Friday, so we'll have a bit of chat about what can happen. One of the things I'm definitely buying is plane tickets to some exotic destination. But yeah, we'll have a chat about that. Guys, if you enjoyed this business show, share it, like, comment. Please, the more you comment, the better the algorithm works on Facebook and stuff, and it bounces up a bit. So please comment and like and share and subscribe. And otherwise, guys, I'll see you next week on another episode of the Weekly Business Show.
Yeah, thanks, Eugene. Welcome. Oh, thanks for another great show. And everyone that's pitched up, guys, without you, there can't be a show. So Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share, do whatever you like with this thing. But yeah, let's get the word out there. If you can learn something from this and you can fast track your success, then I think we have achieved what we've
take
started out to
action.
do. Take action.
Well, guys.
Cheers, guys. Keep well. Bye.